Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday, June 18th here on News 6 Plus. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett. I'm your host, Bridgett Ellison. We have lots of weather to talk about, some tropical things to talk about. It's also Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. We have a doctor joining us live this morning to talk about some of the latest research around Alzheimer's disease and dementia, as well as, tips for prevention and your best health practices. That's a little bit later. But first, we want to get a check of that forecast and the weather. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is here today for Candace, and no shortage of things to talk about. I thought it was funny, Jonathan, that we're actually getting beat in the heat department in some places in the country today.
It's no joke. People from the Northeast are coming to Florida to cool off. It was, I think, 97 in Cincinnati yesterday, and it was 89 in Orlando. So it was, people are coming south to cool off. It's a crazy record-breaking heat wave in the Northeast and upper Midwest.
Yeah. How about that breeze? Will we still have that nice breeze like we did yesterday? Is that sticking around?
We will.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Off of the Atlantic today, and that's going to help to get us a few showers going a little bit later through the morning into the afternoon. Already seeing that along the Brevard Coast, Bridgett.
Oh, nice. And so, what's up with rain chances and people chatting about the tropics?
Yeah, rain chances are going to stay painfully low over the next couple of days. We're going to get storm chances building on the East Coast a little bit, just on the Atlantic side of things, just because of that breeze off of the Atlantic. Again, only about a 30% chance inland for some showers. A lot of those really start to fizzle back out. But really out of luck for any kind of drought-busting rain or anything, at least for the next few days. There might be an opportunity for a little bit of tropical moisture to come back in as we get into Friday and Saturday, but still right now it looks like that's trying to focus into Northeast Florida, into the Carolinas.
All right. And so we've been talking about the tropics a little bit more this morning. What are we watching out for right now?
The good thing is everything that's lighting up, with the exception of one thing, is staying away from us. Yesterday, potential tropical cyclone 1 was designated by the National Hurricane Center. This is that weird designation. This just means that there is a set requirement for something scientifically and meteorologically to be defined as a tropical storm. It has to have a closed, well-defined center. It has to have thunderstorms wrapping around its center, gaining all of its energy from the warmth. Now, this is from the warmth of the water. This is a tropical system. It's tropical in nature and origin, but it doesn't have a closed circulation just yet. They call it a potential tropical cyclone because it has the potential to become a tropical cyclone, and they want to give the people that it's going to be impacting a heads up. So they issue the cone, they issue their watches when they give it that designation. Remember one thing, I know they get a lot of flack because of, what happened to tropical storm? Why is it a cyclone now? They've always been cyclones. Any storm around the world is a cyclone.
Okay.
In this part of the world, the tropics, they're known as tropical cyclones. And then in our basin, we break it down between tropical depressions, tropical storms, and then hurricanes based on wind speed. So just because it is a tropical cyclone or potential tropical cyclone, it's not anything new. It's not anything weird. The designation's new, but it's just they're giving an early heads up. The other two things that are out there, that blob in the Gulf of Mexico, Bay of Campeche area, that's not potential tropical cyclone 1. That is another area that's going to be fresh on its heels to head toward Mexico, Texas, maybe lift up into Louisiana, but that should stay on the western side as well. Then you see that other area in yellow. That's going to be another potential system that gets going, but this one is of non-tropical origin. It's going to be developing off of a dying cold front. So on the left of your screen, you see all that deep, dark purple. That's going to be the tropical moisture associated with maybe our first named storm of the season. Never want to call it that until it happens, because a lot of times these broad systems like this never get their act together and actually become meteorologically tropical. So never want to name it before it actually becomes that. So we're not going to. And if you see it with the A storm, again, there is the potential it does not become the A storm, but impacts are going to be the same regardless. Then I want to take your attention back to Florida. So this is going to be Friday, June 21st, and you see that deep red area. That's going to be the moisture surge associated with whatever develops off of this cold front. Because it's a hybrid system, because it's not fully tropical, and because it's going to take a second to get its act together, the strength of this system is going to be capped. So if it does come in like this model projects here on Friday, June 21st, I would welcome this with open arms, because this would be a low-end system and the rainfall would be very, very beneficial to North Florida. Of course, a lot of Central and North Florida missed out, thankfully, on the flooding rain that South Florida got, but we need the rain badly. So hopefully this will be a nice, quick moving system. Although Central Florida and up to the Carolinas are in play with this. Again, that system has not yet developed, so the uncertainty is super high on where that goes. And then as we move into Sunday of this upcoming weekend, the 23rd, there's another big batch of purple there. That's where that other yellow blob that the Hurricane Center had highlighted there is going to move. So right off the bat, right on the heels of that one, we'll see the potential for another tropical system. Back locally, 80s and 90s today. Rain chances, again, super, super low, with the exception of the coast. That's more like 40 to 50% because of the gusty winds, and you see those downpours trying to slide through. But as we go through the day, a lot of that gets kind of gobbled up by some mid-level dry air. I do think tomorrow, though, will offer a slightly better chance. Today's 30% area-wide. Tomorrow's 40% area-wide. So at least there's a little bit of an uptick, Bridgett, in the amount, at least the rain chances coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, I got a little bit of rain yesterday afternoon, about 1:30, and it just passed right through, but it was a nice little downpour for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and that's all it would be today as well, pretty much a carbon copy of yesterday.
But that's when it comes in handy to have the app updated, checking out the radar, and so we have some fresh updates on our weather app right now.
We do. Yeah, it's only about halfway done, so we don't have the complete thing out just yet. But that's going to be something that you're going to hear a lot about over the next couple of days for sure, Bridgett.
All right, so we'll get ready to stay updated on all of that too, Jonathan, so we can keep track of the weather with you.
Absolutely.
And weather-wise is coming up in a little bit too, so you're always talking
right
about the weather.
Show.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you in a little bit.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. All right. So Trooper Steve is watching our traffic. We had quite a bit of things going on this morning. We're still waiting for a little bit more information, but it's causing some tie-ups for some of those major arteries. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Bridget. Yeah, you're right. The good thing is I always like to add some type of silver lining, there is no school. So with one of the incidents, it's really not bogging traffic down, but you're right. It is a residential area, so it is going to cause some problems. So the map right now, this is what Bridget is talking about. The sheriff's office is currently working a shooting along Pershing Avenue, just west here of Goldenrod. I put the map exactly where it's at, and you can see that red little line there along Pershing. So Pershing is shut down just west of the intersection there for about 2 blocks. It's not like the entire road is closed, but east and westbound there, so you're going to have to find an alternate. Better on I-4, but we have put in some delays that probably would not have been there this morning. Westbound I-4, nice and clear now, approaching the Florida Turnpike. We did have only the right lane open there after a pretty gnarly crash. OPD had to work that. Fire cleared that out, and the road rangers got our road cleaned up. But just be careful on the ramps now, because we are seeing some slight delays along the ramps. Westbound, from that area to 27, still not a bad drive time, about 30 minutes if you're leaving our area. Lake Mary to Maitland 9, 434 to 50, and then of course 417 to downtown. I did check on this because it threw me off a little bit this morning. It is a 21-minute drive, so it's not bad this morning. Not a lot of cars out on the road. And then the stuff that we are seeing, hopefully we'll clean that up soon. Curry Ford in 417, nice and smooth. And then our southwestern portions, our attractions, we're seeing those delays, Bridget. Today, I'm going to cruise up towards Deltona. I don't get to visit Deltona quite often. And I'm going to hang out there around 10 a.m. There's a question about, those center continuous turn lanes that kind of separate the road and you pull into whenever you want to get into a business. So they have a issue along Deltona Boulevard where they're saying it backs up so far that drivers go flying down the center there to catch up, or so they can go to the gas station at the intersection. And a lot of cars are pulling in front, not expecting these high-speed cars coming down. So we're going to check that out today. I get it. I understand why people do this, but there's a better way. So today at 10 a.m., clickorlando.com, the News 6 app, and News 6 Plus, you can hop in the truck with me.
All righty. Well, we'll see you there. Definitely a growing area, so
amen to that.
The roads have to grow with it. All right. See you then. Thanks, Trooper Steve.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So today is an election day for District 5 here in Orlando, and that city commission seat that was vacated when Regina Hill was ousted based on her facing some criminal charges right now. That seat, the runoff, got down to two candidates, and so it is still a pretty dramatic race, including a little bit of drama that went down yesterday. News 6's Treasure Roberts has more.
Regina Hill says this is disheartening, not just to her, but also to voters. She recorded the heated exchange between District 5 candidate Shaniqua Rose and the people at the community meeting, where Hill says Rose showed up unannounced.
Let's talk about the extortion. Let's not get off track about this negative campaigning.
This fiery conversation unfolded Monday at a community meeting after Orlando City Council District 5 candidate Shaniqua Rose made allegations about her opponent, Traveris McCurdy.
He has kicked in a black woman's door. And if it's okay in this community for a man to kick in a black woman's door, something is...
McCurdy posted this statement on Facebook that reads in part, "It is deeply concerning and alarming that someone will go to such great lengths to fabricate stories."
You all said that she wasn't even invited. She just showed up.
We did not invite Traveris McCurdy. We did not invite Shan Rose. This was a gathering of community leaders and residents to say, let's address what is going on here.
Rich Black, who lives in the community, said they wanted to send a message to both candidates that they would not engage in dirty politics. After Rose brought up her opponent, this text message became the center of conversation. The text, addressed to McCurdy, says a concession within 24 hours could be viewed favorably and we can work positively together in the community. If not, I am requesting a response to this packet within 24 hours before it goes to the media and all voters.
Is that your text? Is that your text, Shan?
McCurdy says Rose sent that text in an effort to extort him and manipulate voters.
I never said I was going to release anything.
Yes, you did, Miss Rose. And it's your phone number.
McCurdy's campaign manager tells me he filed a non-emergency report with Orlando police, including the text sent to him.
It caused me pause to think that she might do someone that comes to that office in the same manner if she doesn't get her way. We should extort the other commissioners. We should extort the mayor.
Black says this is not how District 5 wants to be represented.
We do not want to tell people how to vote, but we do feel that we need to have educated voters. And if this is a foretaste of the type of leadership that she is going to offer, we don't want it.
News 6 reached out to Rose asking for comment, but she did not get back to us. After all this, Regina Hill says she still hopes people get out to vote. She says voter turnout has been very low. I checked, and of the eligible voters, only 5% have cast their ballot. Polls will open on Tuesday starting at 7 in the morning and close 7 that night. In the newsroom, Treasure Roberts getting results, News 6.
Okay, so we'll keep you posted this evening as the polls close at 7 p.m. And you can stay tuned to WKMG News 6 and clickorlando.com for all the latest on results 2024. Now we want to get to Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And there have been so many research studies, breakthroughs, new medications as people continue to fight dementia and other brain-related diseases. This morning, we have Dr. Anthony Lugalbo, a board-certified clinical neurologist with Health First. Good morning, Dr. Lugalbo.
Good morning, Bridget. How are you?
Great. I'm excited to talk about some of the breakthroughs and some of the new findings when it comes to these brain diseases and what you're encouraged when it comes to these types of things, because it is pretty common.
It is pretty common, kind of scary numbers, actually. I think I looked at it recently, and people over the age of 65, about 1 in 8 individuals over 65 have Alzheimer's disease. And the numbers are increasing, partially because our aging population is growing. And also because more people are moving to Florida for retirement. I guess that's kind of a common thing that a lot of folks do. So specifically in Florida, there's a large number of individuals with Alzheimer's disease or who are at risk of developing it.
And when it comes to Alzheimer's, that falls under that umbrella, that dementia umbrella. Can you explain the differences? And I would imagine that the numbers for dementia or types of dementia are even higher.
You're exactly right. Yes. And you used a great term there, the umbrella term, which is how I think of it too. So Dementia is a broad term. There are many different types of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is the most common type. It makes up about 65% of all dementias. But there are many other kinds of dementia too. Some of them are very rare or much less common. So when you see statistics about frequency of Alzheimer's disease, that doesn't take into consideration all of those other kinds of dementia that also exist out there. And differentiating between Alzheimer's disease and other dementias can be a really tricky thing as well. The key component or feature of Alzheimer's disease generally is a memory problem, forgetfulness. Unfortunately, this is something that happens a lot as we get older. And so it can be very difficult for people to know if they forget where they placed their keys or forget the name of someone that they think they should know. How do they know whether this is something they really need to be concerned about or not? And it can be a challenge to figure out what's due to normal aging versus is this something that I really need to be concerned about? Is it developing into something like dementia that maybe we can try to identify earlier so we can treat or do something about it?
And let's talk about identifying it, because there have been some breakthroughs in detecting some of those markers, but how much of that encapsulates the numbers of people who will be impacted by these types of disorders?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So I kind of mentioned Alzheimer's has traditionally been characterized in terms of what happens in the brain by the presence of something called amyloid. And used to be that we were not able to see amyloid in someone's brain until after they passed away and look at their brain under the microscope.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in recent years, there's some cool new imaging techniques, brain scans, that allow you to see amyloid in someone's brain while they're still alive. Never been able to do that before, so that was a really exciting development when that came about. The challenge there, though, is some people can have amyloid, but they may not have dementia, or at least not have it yet. And some people may have dementia and have no amyloid. So it can be a little confusing sometimes. One thing that I find is very helpful from a neuropsychological perspective is being able to evaluate someone's thinking abilities. Things like their ability to learn and remember new information, their language skills, their thinking speed or reaction time, and problem solving skills. By doing this type of neuropsychological evaluation, we can better understand how someone's brain is functioning. And often, if someone comes in early enough, we can identify that they may be showing early signs of declining from what's normal for them, but maybe they're not quite to Alzheimer's yet. And they're in this category that we refer to as mild cognitive impairment. Mild cognitive impairment, or MCI. Some people who develop that do go on to develop dementia, and some do not. But if we can identify people in that earlier stage, sometimes we can try to see if there are things that might be able to benefit them, or maybe in some cases even reverse some of the problems that they're having in terms of their memory or their thinking abilities.
And when it comes to that, what is the age range you should start thinking about screening and talking to your doctor about those types of evaluations and maybe being referred to someone like yourself?
Well, 65 is typically a good starting point, although there are some cases where people come in even earlier than that or maybe have concerns prior to age 65. One thing that I've noticed just in some of the patients that I see is that if they have a family member, if they had a parent or an aunt or an uncle, a grandparent who developed dementia or Alzheimer's disease, and especially if that person developed it in their 60s, that they start to get concerned a little bit earlier than other folks might, maybe even in their late 50s to early 60s. They might want to go and talk to their doctor and say, hey, can I get screened for this? Can I do a memory test? We have some brief memory screening that we actually do here at Health First that's free for people to do. It doesn't take too long, but it gives them an idea of, am I where I should be, or are there any signs that maybe are a little concerning that need to be explored in a little more depth?
Hmm. And when it comes to treatment, when it comes to slowing the progression, there's still no cure, but what types of medications and therapies do you recommend for people to stay healthy?
Well, yeah, the medications that exist, I like the phrase that you use there. They slow the progression. They don't reverse it. It's not a cure, as you said, and it also doesn't stop things from progressing completely. I see a lot of people who maybe start taking some of these medications and they feel like nothing's getting better, so they think the medication's not working and they throw it in the trash.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes the medication may be working, even though you're not noticing much of a change, or even if things are still gradually getting worse. Unfortunately, we don't have any medications that reverse that process. One of the newest medications that's out there, lecanemab, has been shown to remove amyloid from the brain,
Mm.
but it's still, from a cognitive standpoint, um, does not reverse things or stop the progression. It still just slows the progression of that cognitive decline. So even though it does seem effective in removing that amyloid from the brain, again, that's a real new thing. Haven't been able to do that before, but it doesn't seem to have as much of a meaningful impact on the course of the disease.
Hmm. And how do you walk families through the process of maybe it's time to get a screening, and sometimes maybe there's pushback on that, and then determining if a person is even able to maybe still live alone or what kind of care they
Mm.
need as it progresses into a more severe case?
Yeah, great question too. I think fear is a number one thing that prevents people from getting checked. They're concerned about what the outcome or the consequence of it might be, uh, primarily in terms of loss of independence. None of us want our independence taken away. And especially as we get older and in retirement, a lot of people have an idea of what they want to do in retirement and enjoy that time. They don't want to be told that they can't drive anymore, or that they can't live alone. Um, but on the other side of that coin, and what I try to emphasize is the safety aspect of it. My goal is not to be cruel and take responsibilities and independence away from folks, but I do want to make sure that they're safe. And there are some things that, like driving or cooking, preparing meals
Hmm.
at home, that if I forget or if my thinking skills aren't quite up to par, it can cause a very hazardous or risky situation, not only for me, for the person themselves, but for other people too.
Hmm.
And so that's part of what I use as motivation to try to convince people that,
Hmm.
this is in their best interest, even though there is some pushback, some hesitancy, as you mentioned, for sure.
And then when it comes to getting more information, when it comes to just trying to stay healthy, what are some of the top tips that you give people in terms of just a healthier lifestyle that can maybe, push this off or slow it down?
Yeah, aside from the medications, another big aspect of the intervention, I think, is behavioral. What can we do to try to either, like you said, prevent or reduce our risk? Uh, Diet, exercise, managing what I call cardiovascular risk factors, blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, or blood sugar. These are all things that are very important to manage as we age. Staying mentally active is another very important part, especially after people retire. Sometimes finding things to do that are mentally engaging can be a little more challenging, or socially engaging, interacting with other people. And I often encourage people as well to do things that are outside of their comfort zone. We all tend to gravitate towards things that are familiar to us, or maybe that we enjoy, that are easy. But sometimes it's important to do things that
Switch it
we're
up.
not very good at too. Yeah, exactly. Do
Hmm.
things that are challenging to kind of activate different parts of our brain, or challenge us in a different way. That's also a real critical piece. really even for younger folks, that might
Hmm.
be concerned about something like this developing later on as they get older.
Awesome. Great information. And so where can we go to learn more and, seek treatment or evaluations?
So healthfirst.org is the main website, and on there you can look for the aging services tab, as well as the memory disorder clinic specifically. As I mentioned before, we do offer free memory screens. We're located here in Melbourne and Brevard County. Um, and we also do a lot of neuropsychological evaluations with older adults to try to better tease apart the factors that are contributing to the difficulties that they're having, and hopefully try to find some ways to help them or give them some guidance about how to navigate the next few years of their life.
All right. Well, and the main thing is, don't put it off if you feel like you should get it checked out. It's better to be on the safe side.
Absolutely. And if we catch something earlier, we have a better opportunity to intervene or try to help. So early identification is key.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Anthony Legalbo from Health First, a neurologist there. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bridget. I
Take care.
appreciate being on here as well.
Wonderful. Hope to see you again. Thanks.
Thank you.
And so, again, healthfirst.org, the Aging Services tab, if you want to learn more about the Memory Disorder Clinic, or maybe, share that with your family and friends who might be interested in that information. Hey, we're hitting the road again. I don't know if you heard, but we're headed downtown at 32801. So we want to know about the stories around that area. So let us know. And, last week we were in Kissimmee, but we're looking forward to this one coming right up on the July 4th holiday. So let us know about the stories in 32801. Go to clickorlando.com/hits the road. That's going to do it for now on Breakfast. And Jonathan is up next with Weatherwise. I'll see you at noon. Take care.